I'm back now, 2007, January. I've been invited by Michael Dell to the World Economic Forum. 2,200 people, there are 200 countries at the UN. 190 of them are being represented at the World Economic Forum, either by a head of state or the Secretary of State or somebody from the political administrations from around the world. There are a countless number of CEOs. Jerry's CEO was there, a countless number of CEOs. Okay, the first night, the welcome cocktail party, I got my best first impression suit on, business cards here. I am fired up to be at the World Economic Forum. I walk into the cocktail party. Feel terrible. What's going on? Why do I feel so bad? There's Mark Zuckerberg. He's got 10 billion, he's 24. Oh, there's Larry Page. He's 30, he's worth 14 billion. There's my buddy Michael Dell, he's got 15 billion. And as I was walking around in the room, I was feeling smaller and smaller and smaller. Write about it in the book. I called it Davos envy. Okay? I'm walking around in this room, and it's dawning on me that I am the least successful, the least talented person, the most awkward and self-conscious of anybody in the room. Crazy, right? It sounds crazy. But you know, you probably, if you're honest with yourself, you probably have had that feeling at some point in your life. I go back to my Swiss hotel. The little tiny bed, you know, it's sitting on the floor. You know, those hotels are terrible. They are. I love the fact that billionaires have to stay in 2-star hotels in Davos, Switzerland. I'm in the hotel. I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong with my life? You know, maybe I should have stayed at Goldman and made more money. Maybe I should have done this, or maybe I should have done that. Maybe you believe this, or maybe you won't. I should have brought the prayer, okay? I really should have. I forgot it. I got down on my knees, and I said, you know, God, help me out here. I'm really struggling. And then I wrote myself a personal prayer. I said, I will accept whatever you give me in my life, whatever it is. If this, you know, help me get comfortable in my own skin so that when I'm walking in a room like that, I don't feel Davos envy. Okay, help me, okay? And help me to accept who I am, how I got here, you know, whatever decisions that I made in my life that were great for me, whatever decisions I made in my life that were bad for me, help me accept it. My book is dedicated to one of my best friends who died in 2009. Okay, he died of gastric cancer. He was 44 years old when he died. He was diagnosed with cancer at 34. I can remember sitting with him at the Broadway diner. I convinced him to fly from Atlanta. You remember Mort Lacker, the Lymphoma Foundation? I'm on that board. I said, please, John, don't get operated on in Atlanta because they don't have the experience. We're going to take you to Sloan Kettering to the best gastric surgeon we can find, which will hopefully save your life or add years to your life. And he came up here and he said to me, you know what? If I'm dying, I'm going out on horseback. I'm 34, I'm going to go out on horseback. He lived 10 extra years, and I do believe it was because of the care that he got. Okay? But in the last 2 months of his life, okay, he was struggling, he was having a hard time breathing, the cancer had spread to his lungs, and he said, you know, I can't believe that this happened to me. You know, when I graduated from college, I didn't think I would be checking out of this place at age 44, leaving 2 children and, you know, all that we have in our lives, right? And I said, John, hold on a second. I went upstairs into my bedroom, and in a Winston Churchill book, okay, I had this piece of paper that was the prayer that I wrote down. Went upstairs, I pulled the thing out, I went back downstairs, trying not to get emotional here, and I read him the prayer. Read it to him. I said, you know, anyway, you get the point. The point is, you have to accept who you are, and you have to recognize that there is destiny in your life, whatever it may be.
You know, now I'm getting my voice thinking of this story. But as you say that, Davos envy, I'm sure everyone here Westchester County, Fairfield County, Greenwich, Envy, that, I think you see a lot of heads nodding there. You walk into this room and, well, I don't have as big a job as the lady next to me, or I don't have as big a home as the person who is sitting on the other side of the road. And that goes on and on.
But this is how you can bring God into that equation, okay? And I didn't, you know, when I wrote more of a secular book, frankly. When I think about my book and the positive and negative of my book, it was probably more secular than it needed to be. You know,
but you give some hints and
I tried to make it to a broad audience, and I didn't want to turn off anybody with my own, you know, faith. So I wrote it in a more secular way. But what I try to address in the book, and I will say to you about Greenwich envy, Westchester envy, Davos, and whatever it is, okay. Don't fault yourself for it, okay? You're in a 100,000-year-old piece of machinery. The thing you are living in has not evolved for at least 100,000 years. And that piece of machinery was designed to allow you to survive, and you have elements of that animal that you've taken with you into the modern world. Okay, back then it was the envy was actually helping you because you were going to take out the guy next to you so that your genes could prosper. Okay, so you were seeing somebody doing better than you, you were going to hit him over the head with something and take his land. Okay, that's what you were designed to do so you could get your genes forward. But you're living in a modern society now. We have obviously too much food, and we have too much of everything, but you still have those atavistic impulses related to your animal. Okay, so that's where you have to embrace God and try to have a transcendental moment for yourself where you say, hey, I got to step out of this animal, and I've got to recognize that this is not the best behavior, this is not the best version of me. How do I get myself to a better version of myself? And I think you can find that in your faith. I really believe that.